Oh, wow. What an episode of television. Welcome in. I know YouTube is kind of a crazy place, especially right now. These episodes to feel like we're hanging out and we're discussing stuff. I want to say thank you very much for all of the love and support on the last video. I do these things to just kind of be a running diary and to keep myself creative. So it means a lot that it's resonating with a lot of you and that you care about the same things that I do, mainly the White Lotus. So come on in and let's enjoy episode 6, Denials. So I'm just going to put a spoiler alert here. Moving forward, we're talking spoilers. If you don't know who I am, my name is Aaron Murray Vasquez. I'm a filmmaker here in New York City. Let's get started. In the last episode, I spent a lot of time talking about Rick and Frank and their scene together. Because Rick and Frank were so heavy and in the middle of episode 5, they kind of take a back seat in this episode, but the idea of identity is definitely still driving the car, or boat, I should say. And when the White Lotus digs into identity, that's when I think the show works best, because Mike White creates such rich characters who all have such rich identities that then to deconstruct them over the week is fascinating. And because it's so real, there's like bits of pieces of, I see myself in a lot of these characters. I'm from Austin, like Kate. I moved to New York, like Lori. I grew up religious, like the Ratliffs. I wanted to be a man, like Saxon, but I was also rebellious, like Piper. I've often been tortured and aloof, like Rick. And ultimately, I want to be as loving as Chelsea. And because this episode is going to be a little bit more free-flowing, I need to put a menu here about our topics today. And our first topic is, what is it? The Ratliffs. Okay. The Ratliffs' identity is wrapped in their wealth, their status, their privilege, and their place in the South. The only one that doesn't really have an identity is Lachlan, because he's in so many different places. Will he choose his mother's school, his father's school? Will he choose to be rebellious like Piper? Will he choose to be feminine like Piper? Or will he choose to be masculine and like his father, the way Saxon has? It's nice to have some fluidity in this family that feels so stable. And the way Piper wants to be rebellious is to reject the wealth, reject Christianity, reject America, and move to this Buddhist commune.
We're really here because she wants to move to Thailand so she can study under some guru.
Saxon's identity is to be as much of an alpha male and a mirror image of his father, and that's his identity. Tim's identity is to live up to the grand expectations of his family's legacy. His father was very successful. His grandfather was like the governor of North Carolina, I think. I'm not really sure actually with Victoria. I gotta be honest. If you think you know what Victoria's identity is, I guess the idea of being a good person, that Tim is a Boy Scout, you are decent people. You have to be careful of others that are trying to infiltrate your circle. That keeps coming up constantly with Victoria's lessons to her children.
So your father and I are going over to his compound this morning to make sure it's not a cult.
And the identity thing I want to explore the most is when Tim goes and sees the monk. And he sits down and he wants to hear about, what the process is, what he can expect, what Piper can expect. And then he has his final question, which is...
What do you think happens when we die?
When we die? Great question.
And the head monk explains, we leave the ocean as a droplet and we return back home. And I'm going to put a little sidebar here to say that I do a lot of editing in my line of work. One of the things I took on was a series of videos for meditation and Buddhist principles and philosophy and stuff like that. And I grew up Christian, and there's a lot of fear in the afterlife of judgment of where you are going to end up, A or B. And while I was editing these videos, I was like, wow, this is making me kind of feel a lot less severe about what happens to all of us after we pass away, one of the things that head monk mentions is that you cannot run from pain.
You cannot outrun pain.
You cannot run from pain. And I thought that that was really beautifully put, because Tim has been running from pain this entire week. He's been trying to weasel out of these charges. He's been trying to weasel out of being communicated. He's trying to weasel out his family with, even thinking about very serious things that he should not be considering to do to his own family. So he's been just trying to run from pain this entire time. And to have him hear this takes a lot of load off of his mental, but also challenges his identity of this great burden of responsibility and the wrath of the afterlife that may come from it. So number 2, we're going to go with the trio of Cougars. I didn't say that. Saxon said that. I gotta be honest, I do not know a lot. I do not understand a lot of what's happening here. My wife is fascinated by these scenes. I don't really... I mean, I understand what's happening, but there's also like a couple of layers underneath that I'm not getting. And so we're always constantly pausing and I'm like, what's happening here? So if you guys could fill me in on what you think is happening in this trio, because I'm thinking to myself, like, is Kate oblivious when she tells Lori and says she doesn't know how Lori is going to react? Did she do it on purpose? Is she trying to stir the pot? Is she trying to be hands off? If this is a pattern of Jacqueline always taking a guy, did Kate know what telling Lori was going to do? Why is Jacqueline acting this way? Why is Lori acting this way? Why is Kate acting this way? Let me know. I really have not a lot of clue in terms of what the greater movements of this trio is, but I do know that they all have a very clear identity. Kate wants to keep things going, keep things moving. She doesn't want to talk about Trump. She doesn't want to bring this up to Jacqueline. It's all about good manners for Kate. For Lori, she wants to talk about things. She wants to be out on Front Street. She doesn't mind having things set out. And for Jacqueline, she's acting. She's an actor. Everywhere she goes, she has to have a face on all the time. As much as I'm enjoying the storyline a lot, I have like no idea where it's going to go. Okay, what's next? Ooh, we have new segment alert. We've got a segment called Love It or Hate It. It's fairly simple. Let's do an example. Guy talks ability to do a good job. Hate it. Guy talks ability to win at Deal or No Deal Island.
Deal or no deal? No deal.
The first case, he looked at him and said, Shh, got it. Belinda getting some action. Love it. How comfortable Zion is with that. Hate it. I will say, actually, I'm a little disappointed in like Belinda's story so far. I love Natasha Rothwell. She's so good and Insecure. Who does she play? She plays Kelly. She plays Kelly, and she's so good and Insecure. And I kind of wanted her to have sort of more of a Tanya type role. She's a weak through line from season 1, 2 to 3. Just give Natasha more. Give her more to chew on. The shot of Rick and Frank in the boat. Love it. Wow, look at that shot. Oh my God. Have these guys just shot up to like the 2 coolest motherfuckers on the planet? I mean, look, I love both their outfits. And the funny thing is that as they get closer to Sritala. How do you say? Sritala.
Sitala.
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 As they get closer to Sritala's place, as they get closer to the place, I'm so bad at that. As they get closer to her place, he puts on his like director's costume, which I think is so funny. It's such a like meta joke about Hollywood directors, how they dress, like the hat, the glasses, the like red, It also something I would wear unironically if I was going to meet somebody, because I want to be like, I can't be seen. I can't be seen. Oh, sorry. I'm having too much fun. And just everything that Chelsea's doing, everything that Amy Lee Wood is doing, I love it.
Ooh, I don't mean to complain, but that's not very much.
She wants you to taste it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think I will be able to forgive Mike White if she doesn't survive this season. I think she should be the next Tanya. Just put her in the next thing and the next thing because she is amazing. I think her character has such a good ability to, let's talk about it now. The brothers, a deep dive. Chelsea has such an ability to cut through Saxon's exterior in a way that he is unable to perceive. Like, he has built up this huge wall of masculinity, and she's just gone around behind it and pushed it over.
You seem freaked out.
No, I don't. Or do I? No, I'm fine.
And so for like this deep dive, I don't want to dive too much into what happened during the night. I don't want to also get flagged on YouTube. To me, that's not as interesting as Saxon's deconstruction in this episode. I mean, one of the first things he does is put on his brother's shorts. Clothing in White Lotus is very clearly a signal from the way Rick and Frank dress to Frank turning into the director, the shifting of dynamics of Saxon wearing his brother's shorts, Saxon wearing a pink shirt which mirrors his father's shirt at the end of the episode. Mike White uses clothing as like a storytelling tool to sort of signal where things are and where things are going. And I really love it because this episode, I think that Saxon should be wearing those shorts. It also is so funny that he's just like waddling the whole time. His hair's, I mean, at first I was like, I don't know about Schwarzenegger, but now I think he's killing this role. He's so funny. But Saxon's character is being deconstructed. I mean, he takes drugs the episode before and he kind of loses control. And in that loss of control, I think it's revealed, something is revealed inside him that he's been trying to keep at bay because he's been so on track with wanting to be this person. Lachlan is the most fluid. Lachlan, he sees what his brother wants and then he kind of moves towards that. Oh, okay. I'm not interested in that as much. I'm not interested in that scene as much. I'm more interested in when Saxon goes to the pool. Now, when Saxon goes to the pool, Chelsea clocks that something is up. Just the way he sits down, she can tell something is going on. She's very tuned with the energy stuff, which I love. I love how like energetic she is, and she feels it. She sniffs it out, and she asks him.
Right.
His look is so not okay. He's freaking out. And they have this really great conversation about why, and Saxon being confused as to why she wouldn't have sex with him. That's what I mean by Chelsea just goes around his masculinity and pushes it over in a way he can't anticipate.
And he's my soulmate.
What does that even mean?
Once you've connected with someone on a spiritual level, you can't go back to cheap sex. Hooking up with you would be an empty experience.
And how would you know that?
Because I know. Because you're soulless.
Oh, wow. What an episode of television. Because he's soulless. I mean, what do you say to that? And it's true. I mean, Saxon doesn't have a soul. And she sees that and she calls him out on it. The outrageousness of how much like sunscreen he's putting on, the way he's doing it, it all kinds of reveals himself to be sort of shallow and weak. And when Chelsea comes in later and kind of confronts what Saxon has done, and he's starting to see that himself. He is shallow and he is weak, and he freaks out and he leaves because he can't handle that. He runs from the pain. You cannot run from the pain. I kind of like the friendship that neither Chelsea or he thinks are developing, but I feel like they're developing a friendship. Somebody who's honest with him in a way that he can't blow off like Piper, and he isn't enabled like his parents. He's not listening to podcasts. He doesn't have his phone on him. He only has Chelsea and Chloe. He's chasing towards pleasure, towards them. And when he's confronted with pain, he runs away. But he runs into his father, who's having his own crisis of faith. After talking to the head monk, after talking to Victoria, who says she doesn't want to live if she's not going to be rich. So he's trying to run from the pain, and he doesn't have anybody to run to because that man, his father, is gone. And he kind of recognizes it. And so I'm excited as we head into episode 7, what Rick is going to do. And so tell me, if you like the episode, what you're thinking, if some of this stuff makes sense to you. I rewatched the episodes and I kind of just try to think about the bigger messages of identity within ourselves. For Dude Talk today, I do want to talk about the Saxon character. To the young men out there, don't hold on too tightly to your heroes. Some of them will let you down. I think that Saxon's seeing that with his father. Don't explain away the things that you wouldn't do, that you wouldn't stand for. I grew up as a gigantic Kanye fan, a gigantic Shia LaBeouf fan, a gigantic Conor McGregor fan. I've had to let them go. I can't stand for the things they speak about now. I can't advocate for their behavior, the way they speak about people, the way they speak about things, the way they treat people, their beliefs, the way they move in the world. For Kanye, I saw something that resonated with me within hip hop growing up. I didn't want to wear a jersey. I didn't want to, talk about women in this way. And Kanye was a refreshing kind of person. He would wear pink. He would have backpack. He had no problem being a nerd, being super artistically ambitious. It was something that kind of woke me up to be like, whoa, this is so cool. I want to do this. And I explained away things I wouldn't stand for, I'm not here to defend any kind of Taylor Swift thing, but I did then because I wanted it to be that way. So I explained it to be that way. Now, this isn't anything about Taylor. It's just more of somebody I looked up to treating somebody that way, embarrassing somebody that way, and me writing for them, telling my friends, advocating to my friends that I think that that's okay. And I feel embarrassed about that today. Oh, I'm so glad he did that because he made my dark twisted fantasy going down that path and keep going down that path and keep going down that path. I wasn't going to hold on to who he was becoming. Not only because I didn't find it inspiring, I didn't find it enjoyable to have him think this way, be this way. I didn't want this person to be my hero if he was going to talk about people this way or treat people this way. I don't care how good the music is. I don't care how good the shirts are. I don't care how cool the sneakers are. I'm not doing it. And I think that is important to have your values dictated by yourself, how you want to treat people, how you want to experience the world, and not these rich, famous people telling you how you should behave, how you should behave around people, what you should expect. Because we live as a whole in society. I can't think a certain way about all women because I live around women all the time. I'm in New York City. There is a wide spectrum of every type of woman here. And I can't believe that they're all the same. And I can't believe I'm better than them because I'm not. There are so many directors. There's so many writers. There's so many photographers that are women that would kick my ass creatively and do all the time. There's so many YouTubers in this space that are running numbers that are women that are probably talking about the White Lotus. And to me, I feel like the harmony of being able to live with each other, being able to empathize, being able to connect and create with each other is more important than having your hero stay your hero. People change. There is nothing in this world that isn't in the process of becoming something else. And as they change, you change. And you can choose to let them go. The entire Joe Rogan subreddit is just people who used to listen to Joe that now can't stand him and critique him. You can push it away. And I think it would be better for you to push it away. To say, I'm not like this person. I don't speak to the people this way. I don't treat people this way. I don't exploit them to get what I want in this way. And if I did, I would be as bad as them. So that's Dude Talk for today. I hope that isn't too much. Fellas, let me know what y'all think about that. And I'll see you next week, and we'll talk some more about this.
No more separated.
Bye.
No more suffering. One consciousness. Death is a happy return. Like coming home.